We're going back to the realm of international politics, people. The real shit, the biggest part of politics, the international part. The only bigger one would be if we ever have intergalactic politics or multiverse, inter-universal politics. That would be the big. I don't think it can get any bigger than that. But for right now, we have to settle with international politics. So, anyway, this is something that caught my eye. I was just scrolling on my news articles while we were listening to that, but because I know that we in America hear a lot about we have a very we hear a lot of propaganda in America about Taiwan and China, right? I think that the average America would guess that like Taiwan is like universally everyone on Taiwan hates China and wants to remain separate and independent from China or whatever. Uh, and I'm sure there are plenty of people in Taiwan who do think that, honestly. I'm sure that there are. Especially because like our propaganda also is like blasted out over there as well, I think. Um, and for those unaware, Taiwan was where I think a bunch of separatists were sent to. I can't remember exactly when, but they technically believe that Taiwan is the one real China and the other China should unify with them, or at least that's what like I think the main Taiwanese party believes potentially, which is a little silly considering power dynamics. But anyway, this I wanted to go over this one because it shows maybe a different side of it. So this is the Taiwan opposition leader calls for reconciliation after meeting Xi. So let's go ahead and read this because this is kind of a huge deal. And it I think is also I think this is also an indicator of some of the potential future ramifications that are going to come out of the Iran war, where we were unable to protect our proxies essentially in the Gulf states from being like destroyed by Iranian ballistic missiles. And Taiwan, like China is a whole other beast compared to Iran, right? So Taiwan was probably also looking at that to some extent and being like, uh-oh, guys, I don't know if America can protect us, to be honest. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm reading initially out of this, but let's go and read this article and see what's going on. This is Taiwan opposition leader calls for reconciliation after meeting Xi by Aaron Hale. Taipei, Taiwan. Opposition leader Chang Li-Wen and Chinese President Xi Jinping have met in Beijing, where both leaders stated their opposition to Taiwan independence and expressed a desire for a peaceful resolution to the long-running dispute over the island's future. Yeah, I mean, a peaceful resolution would be the best for humanity. It would be bad for the war hawks in America, though, who would much rather have a non-peaceful resolution to this issue. They posed for photos at the Great Hall of the People and exchanged public remarks in addition to holding their closed-door meeting. Cheng is the highest-ranking Taiwanese leader to meet Xi since President Ma Ying-jeou talked with the Chinese leader in Singapore in 2015. They met again in China 2 years ago when Ma was a private citizen. Both Cheng and Ma are members of the Kuomintang, the conservative-leaning Taiwanese political party that advocates for greater engagement with China by Taiwan's self-ruled democratic government. Okay. So it sounds like their conservative-leaning political party who wants more engagement with China. Okay, Taiwan has a democratic government, and they just want them to be more involved with each other or have closer relations, it sounds like. It's interesting that it's conservative leaning, but during her public remarks, Chang stressed that Chinese and Taiwanese leaders should work to transcend political confrontation and mutual hostility. Though and to be clear, China's policy on this is very clear, and also international law's policy on this is very clear. Taiwan is a Chinese province according to international law, according even to the official statements by America. Like America's official position is that Taiwan is a province of China. We do maintain strategic ambiguity in our rhetoric where we never outright say that anymore. Like since its recognition as a province of China, we do not outright say that. We kind of just pretend like that is not the case, but that is our technical official position. Yeah. So, and China, for the record, has openly stated that they do want a reunification with Taiwan in the future, but they want it to be peaceful and nonviolent. And I think whether it is peaceful and nonviolent will largely depend on, on America and what political power and military power we have in the future. Because it'll look very similar to Russia, Ukraine, if I had to guess, in terms of like the outcomes of that confrontation, if it does become military, through military means. But through the unremitting efforts of our two parties, we hope that Taiwan Strait will no longer become a potential flashpoint of conflict, nor a chessboard for external powers, Cheng said, according to an English translator. That's a good statement. Yes, Taiwan is a pawn. It is a pawn of American empire, and it will be used and spent as the pawn that America believes it is, as a destabilizing counterbalance to China, in the same way Ukraine was a destabilizing counterbalance to Russia. Instead, it should become a strait that connects family ties, civilizations, and hope, a symbol of peace jointly safeguarded by Chinese people on both sides, she said. And also, by the way, I think China is pretty open to a Shanghai-style model for Taiwan, where they can have their own system of governance. They can have their own capitalist system if they want over there. They're just going to be like officially a part of China is I think what they would like, similar to how Shanghai is like a capitalist enclave and inside of communist China, basically. Let's see. Chang's remarks were sprinkled with well-known Chinese CCP talking points, praising its success in eradicating absolute poverty to its goal of achieving the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. During their open-door meeting, Xi also emphasized Taiwan and China's shared history and culture, stating that people of all ethnic groups, including Taiwanese compatriots, had jointly written the glorious history of China. Yeah, see, yeah, I mean, obviously in this type of meeting, you want to be not hostile to the people that you want to peacefully reunify with. All sons and daughters of China share the same Chinese roots and the same Chinese spirit. This originates from blood ties and is deeply embedded in our history. It cannot be forgotten and it cannot be erased, Xi said. I do wonder what the current leading party in Taiwan is thinking about this meeting. He added that together with the KMT and other members of Taiwanese society, Beijing was ready to work for peace across the Taiwan Strait. Both leaders said they opposed foreign meddling in Taiwan-China relations, a reference to U.S. interference, while Cheng suggested that she would slow Taiwan's military buildup, according to Wen Ti-sung, a non-resident fellow with the Atlantic Council's Global China Hub. She talked about the and also Taiwanese people out there. You need to also be very wary about like depending on America for your well-being as a people. I just want to utter again, like, look at what's happening to Ukraine and how how we are essentially like keeping this war going. America is in a sense keeping this war going and spending tons of Ukrainian lives to try to degrade Russia right now. Okay, so I want, you got to be careful when you're aligning with America in this regard. She talked about the institutional arrangement for war prevention, which was a euphemism for saying that under her leadership, the KMT would not be seeking a defense and deterrence-oriented approach to war prevention. The message, in short, was that Taiwan ought to slow down the defense buildup and buying U.S. arms. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Lockheed Martin isn't going to like the sound of that, people. So I would guess they're going to be on a full court, propaganda offensive on Taiwan in the near term to try and make sure that they keep buying all of our shit. Taiwan's military expansion has been a hotly debated issue in the legislature, where the KMT has for months blocked a $40 billion special budget to acquire U.S. weapons. The opposition party alleges that the defense bill is too large and too vague. It offered a smaller $12 billion alternative instead. Writing on Facebook ahead of the meeting, Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te of the Democratic Progressive Party wrote that the KMT continues to deliberately avoid cross-party negotiations while delaying approval of the special defense budget. Lai said that his government also supports peace, but not unrealistic fantasies. Despite promises of peace from Xi, China has steadily ramped up its military presence in the waters and airspace around Taiwan in recent years. Since 2022, China's armed forces have had 6 rounds of multi-day live-fire military drills in the Taiwan Strait, the 180-kilometer wide waterway dividing Taiwan from mainland Asia. Yeah, they're doing force projection. We in America are very familiar with the concept of force projection. History tells us that compromising with authoritarian regimes only sacrifices sovereignty and democracy. It will not bring freedom, nor will it bring peace, Lai wrote on Facebook. What? I'm pretty sure that compromising with authoritarian regimes is like, it happens all the time. Like, we do it all the time. We compromise with, I don't understand that. Like, and we maintain our sovereignty and democracy all the same. I don't know. I think this is just kind of a little bit of fear mongering. Yeah. China accuses the ruling DPP leadership of pushing a separatist agenda. The DPP advocates for a distinct Taiwanese identity and, over the past decade, has tried to raise Taiwan's profile on the world stage, which has provoked anger in Beijing. Okay, Applejacks, you gotta chill, okay, buddy? uh, I'm missing some of the comments here, but yeah, went crazy with all the feminism bull. Just so you know, I am an avid feminist. So I'm not liking that talk. So you better, be careful. I might have to. I don't like that anti-woman shit in here. Okay. China accuses the ruling DPP's leadership of pushing a separatist agenda. The DPP advocates for a distinct Taiwanese identity and over the past decade has tried to raise Taiwan's profile on the world stage, which has provoked anger in Beijing. Let's see. The Chinese leadership cut off formal contact with Taipei shortly after the DPP came to power in 2016, although it continues to communicate through different groups, including the KMT. That is partly why Chang's trip to China has been viewed with skepticism in some corners of Taiwan, particularly among the ruling DPP. Speaking to reporters after the meeting, Chang sidestepped questions of whether she supported Taiwanese and Chinese unification, but said her main goal was to seek reconciliation based on shared history and culture. Keeping it a little bit ambiguous. I do think, honestly, well, okay, the best bet would be for America to just get out of Taiwan and stop using it as a, as a base to project force against China and destabilize China. If America did that, like, I think that China would be much more willing to allow Taiwan to have more independence. But because America is essentially using Taiwan as a pawn to destabilize China, they're going to be much less conciliatory to allowing them to have independence in that regard, like complete independence. But yeah. However, the KMT and the Chinese Communist Party have not always got along. They fought a bloody civil war from the 1920s to the 1940s during China's Republican era, only pausing to fight. Wait, they fought a bloody civil war. Okay, only pausing to fight the Japanese during the Second World War. The KMT-led Republic of China government later retreated to Taiwan. That was the kind of separatist, they were forced to retreat to Taiwan. A former Japanese colony in the late 1940s, vowing to one day return to China. So, and that's where I say they actually believe, the KMT, I guess, believe that Taiwan is the actual China, and China is the province or whatever, I think. The conflict was never fully resolved. The CCP continues to claim Taiwan as a province and remains committed to annexing it one day peacefully or by force. Yeah. Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council, which sets Taiwan's policy towards China, said this week that Cheng's talking point that Taiwan and China are one family mischaracterizes Taiwan's sovereignty dispute as an internal disagreement rather than one between two governments. While still formally known as the Republic of China, Taiwan has undergone a cultural and political sea change since demonstrations in the 1990s accompanied by a rise in Taiwanese nationalism. You can come down here, but take those claws out, or like get those claws back in. Okay. Come on, G. While still formally known as the Republic of China, Taiwan, that's what I read, a 2025 national identity survey by the National Chengchi University in Taiwan found that 62% of respondents identified as Taiwanese, up from 17.6% in 92. The percentage of respondents who identify as Taiwanese and Chinese has fallen from 46.4% to 31.7% over the same period, while respondents identifying as Chinese fell from 25 to 2.5. So yeah, interesting article. I think, like I said at the beginning, a lot of this, we're probably going to see a lot more of this in the future. I think there's going to be a lot of fallout from America's like loss of force projection capabilities that has come out of Iran.